I will totally take a pencil and rewind this a little bit. Do you remember that when Maxell had the things out and I had to sit some speakers, he's like this? I still have that poster. I got Do you remember when we were young and making fun of old people? Yeah. We're now old people. I can put ourselves when we were young, I did that.
Here. No.
I want to make sure, because,
Somebody back.
Fans on tonight? You guys all right? Put a fan on. Everybody good? All right.
comfortable? Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, sure.
But I think what now the issue is it's programmed to shut off when we're not using it. So I kicked it on earlier today so we could go.
We said like we would push for like 2 hours.
Yeah, I just overrode it. It's got the pre-programmed. It'll kick back on later and then it'll kick back over and turn back on.
Oh, yeah.
Are you working tomorrow? I don't know yet. You do send me a text, but I forget to. Yeah, worse than that.
No, I wasn't. It's my husband's gonna text you yet.
Hey, Laura?
I know. You'd think that one.
Oh, look, coming in, but he don't have your ticket.
Well, if I would have sent him, he would have liked that. He
Oh,
would
you
have
didn't
probably
tell him,
said,
okay.
no, I didn't ask him to bring
Talk
any.
about it. Mama too.
You'd think that, one quart would be enough for the day, but. Oh, see,
That's why.
coffee.
That doesn't seem fair.
No, honestly, if I had said one word to him about bringing me tea,
Well, yeah, but look how it plays into it.
he definitely would have.
Next meeting, you need to take everybody's order.
That's right. Wait till double points day or something.
Well, these are, like, I'm one of those people that my phone will just stay somewhere for hours and I don't like dealing with it, to be honest, so.
Yeah, but unless they weren't on until I was
No, I just usually have it. That sounds good.
Yeah. This is one.
That one's on.
Those security systems.
I call to order the Board of Trustees regular meeting for September 5th, 2023, and the time is now 6 p.m. Trustee Johnson, would you like to give the invocation?
Sure. Stephanie, I'd like to take a moment of silence for Dallas Maynard. He was a zoning inspector here for several years, longtime resident, passed away recently, so bow your heads for that and we'll pray. Dear Lord, thank you for giving us freedoms that we enjoy at Etna Township and people who have served us. Thank you for those people. Thank you for the citizens that are concerned that are here. Thank you for the protection you give us, from the police officers to our servicemen overseas or on site here, first responders. Pray to be with all of those people and their families. Amen.
Please join me with the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Ms. Varian.
Mr. Evans?
Here.
Mr. Johnson?
Here.
Ms. McKee?
Here. I move to adopt the agenda as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion?
Yes, I had asked for a discussion on the use codes to be included. Is that going to be part of the administrator's report? And if not, I think we should add that to the agenda. Ms. Hanson, is that part of your administrator's report, the use codes that you indicated you were going to research and provide an update?
I have a general update that specific updates on the use codes need to come from the zoning commission.
Yeah.
But I have a general update about the work that the zoning commission is doing on the use codes.
Okay, we can address it during the administrator's report. And then the other thing I had asked for was discussion on the exit conference for the audit, but it looks like we're going to be having that this Friday, so I don't need that.
Roll call, Ms. Varian.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes. I move to adopt the minutes from the August 15, 2023 meeting as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion?
Yes, these once again do not represent the actions of the board. They whitewash the comments by not only myself, but residents regarding the concerns raised. Additionally, and this is very concerning, they contain Ms. McKee's slanderous statement, and I would highly caution this being perpetuated in the minutes and written down, which would be libel. It should be removed and retracted to avoid any potential libel or slander suit. And I move to table these so proper corrections can be made and they addressed at the next meeting.
Mr. Evans? Or do you have to ask for a second?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, we don't have a second. So this is dies for lack of second. Roll call, Ms. Varian.
Mr. Evans?
No.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Wow.
Okay, we are going to move over to public comments. Please limit your public comments to 3 minutes. If you could please come up to the podium, state your name and address for the record.
Steve Perkins, 7352 Palmer Road. A little different one tonight. As someone who has employees, about a dozen that are out in high temperatures that we're experiencing right now, and as well as somebody who was unfortunate to have their AC die at their own residence last night, I wanted to bring up the concept of announcing the township hall, if it's acceptable as a cooling center, as we're entering these really hot weather days, so that it doesn't get in the way of normal business during business hours here. And also just to encourage the community at large to keep a lookout for those who may be more susceptible to heat, or even those who have their AC fail like I did. I'll be okay, but there's other people that may not be, so I encourage everybody to take a look out for those people and be on the lookout for signs of heat stress. Thank you.
Thank you.
Teresa Oakshott, 484 Trail West. Two things. The first little thing I saw in the new business about resolution for no parking on Trail West. I've lived there for 18 years. I find no issue with parking on both sides of Trail West. If you are going to limit it to one side, I ask that you limit it to parking on the south side only. Leave the north side, which is where the side where the clubhouse is, as the one that's open. My second issue, Trent Stepp came and talked last month about how everything was going in the Southwest, like a water sewer district, with the building in Etna Township, and how he was for the residents and didn't want to tax the residents for that, and how we needed the accountability. So we appointed him for another term, and then I find out he's running for re-election. So he duped the township forward on that, unless they knew about it and ahead of time, which I hope they did not. But then the other thing, in the dispatch, he's talking about financing of the Waco water treatment plant, which has not been finalized yet. He talks about two different ways, partnering with Etna and Pataskala to use of economic development districts, the JEDs or the TIFs, and siphon some of those funds off to pay for it, which is taking money off of our residents because of the fact that we're giving these people tax abatements. So these JEDs and TIFs are what to compensate the township and the schools for the fact that we're giving them tax abatements. So if they take money from JEDs to pay for these new expansions, which we need only because of the new development, we're taking money from the residents. The second issue, which he said he does not support or feels it's a lesser option, would be the capital recovery fees, which require the developments to pay up front to buy into the system. Well, to me, the new development needs to pay for it because the residents have paid for the original system and are still paying for the debt reduction. The new people coming in should pay their fair share. This way, it's equal. We are one at a township. People want to build out here. They should pay for the privilege to build out here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Judy Kappmeyer, 29 Roma Court. I was disappointed and dismayed by the 2-to-1 vote on August 15th, refusing to send the large solar exclusionary zone resolution to the county commissioners. I'm sure the commissioners appreciated the vote since it meant that they didn't have to deal with the issue yet. This issue is not dead. In fact, I expect it to gain lots of traction in the coming months from townships in Licking County and Knox County, plus the court case being brought by Hartford Township. The supposed reason for the negative vote was a letter from the commissioners blurring the proposal. Again, if the commissioners are not given something to deal with, they have nothing to deal with. Need to know more? You're all invited to attend the next 2 COCO meetings, Central Ohio Conservatives, and hear speakers from Knox County and Hartford Township to share their stories of lies, trickery, and schemes from solar companies wanting their prime properties. The September 21st meeting is at the Touchdown Club in Heath, and the October 19th is at the Track Club in Newark. These people are living the nightmare. You might want to listen to them. A few months ago, Mr. Johnson said that he sat here for 15 years and heard residents bring up issue after issue. Well, isn't that the duty of a township trustee? To listen to your constituents, hear their arguments, become an informed elected official by reading any accompanying documents, pro and con, Do your homework in order to arrive at an educated decision that benefits the township. Then, be courageous enough to explain and support your decision in this public forum. Which brings me to the next issue, the proposed water and sewer plan at Mink Street and 40. I'm glad to see that Mr. Stepp is giving his report next, but the only question that I need answered is, how is this facility being funded, both in construction and upkeep? Who's ultimately paying this multi-million-dollar bill? And just to paraphrase, the properties in Franklin County have recently been reassessed and taxes are doubling in many cases. Is this in Etna Township's future as well? Are some property owners just an assessment away from losing the homes they purchased a couple of years ago? These are the types of concerns that Etna Township residents legitimately bring to our elected trustees to address, not to be dismissed, discarded, or ignored. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gary Burkholder, 254 Trail East. I have 3 different items. The first is, I would ask the Board of Trustees to look into rectifying the trip hazards coming out of the town hall here. We've had 2 trips in the last year, and I've seen the aftermath of both of them. The one most recently was after the JEDSI meeting, so I think that we should put our insurance carrier on notice and take proactive to rectify that problem out there. The second has to do with I'm glad it was brought up here tonight, the water and sewer district. The cost of the Wagner plant has escalated from the original capital improvement of $25 million now to $84 million, which was quoted at the meeting last Thursday, which I attended. On July 27th, I attended the Water and Sewer Board meeting, and I asked the Etna representative, Mr. Stepp, if there were going to be any ongoing talks between the township and the district regarding tax increment financing on State Route 310, and I was advised that because there wasn't unanimous support from this board and because the school board wasn't likely to support those renegotiations, there would be no meetings going forward. On August 31st, last week, I also attended the Water and Sewer meeting and confirmed by Mr. Stepp there was in fact a meeting here on August 25th between the administrator, the president of council, the consultant for the district, who also serves as Jersey Township administrator, and Mr. Stepp. To my chagrin, he would not provide an update on what those discussions were. I asked if it regarded the district, he said it did. And then when it came to Mr. Platt's report, he also refused and said, I have nothing to report. There was a meeting. So my question tonight for the administrator or the president, that it's a fair question. How are we going to fund this plan? I've been going for several months, never get a specific answer. Well, tips, maybe jets, maybe this, maybe that. And construction is going to start, according to the district, October of this year, and hopefully be completed by the spring or summer of 2025. When you have a plant that is tripled in cost, plus all these other expenditures that the district is taking, we the residents, the users, the taxpayers have a right to ask a legitimate question. How is it going to be paid for, specifically? So I hope that we get some enlightenment here tonight. Thank you.
Is there any other public comments tonight? Mr. Kennard?
Yes, it's mine.
Okay.
John Kennard, 10785 Palmer Road. I appreciate Mr. Burkholder's comment about the water and sewer, about the price going up. But I don't know why we're allowing a water and sewer expansion in the first place. Because we do not want any more expansion in that township. We definitely don't want no solar farms. So my suggestion is to keep Etna a farm community where everybody lives in the housing developments can come out and look at our cornfields and our bean fields and how pretty the country looks. I wouldn't mind a subsidy sent to my farm each year $10,000 would be all right. I wouldn't turn down 6, and I guarantee you, I'll keep the farm a farm. Doesn't that sound like a good idea? That's all I got.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Mr. Harris.
Ryan Davis, 8807 Watkins Road, candidate for Etna Township trustee. I just want to make that clear. There's been some rumors that I am not running now, which is news to me, so definitely feel free to call me if you got questions about that. I'd like to end public comments on a positive note. I thought the fireworks display, as usual, I don't know where they pick which fireworks go where and how the colors and stuff. One of the best displays I get to go see. I really think my kids had a lot of good time, a great time. Applaud them, but no, I thought it was a great time. There's a lot on the agenda tonight. I just would like to see the board take some action. Let's just keep it positive. We don't have to wait till 2024 for change. This board can affect change tonight. So I'd like to see you guys start working together tonight and not wait on the candidates to come in and quote unquote save the day like we all think we can. So you guys can act tonight. I'd like to see you do the best for the township. It's what the township needs. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other comments from anybody? All right, well, I guess we'll go move on over to the report from Mr. Candidate, Trent Scott.
Good, thank you. I'm Trent Stepp. I am the township's appointee to the Southwest Licking Community Water and Sewer District, as it's probably been made clear already this evening. As the board knows, I submit my reports written in writing in order to keep the trustees informed of the activities of the district. I do this for a couple of reasons. First, in my line of work, if it's not written down, it didn't happen. So I'm not one to just talk about things. I write things down and make sure there's a record of those things. It's a consistent record that can be easily requested by members of the public. I recognize it isn't as dramatic as standing up here in front of the community or at this podium every month, but the closing of every email, every report I've sent, my almost 3 years so far in my role states, and I'm going to quote here, as always, if there are specific items you would like me to report in more detail, I would be pleased to do so. I'm copying the township general email as well as Mrs. Hanson so that this report could be easily included in any minutes or public records request that may arise. It's my attempt at being transparent. I apologize if that isn't transparent enough to the community, to the board. I believe that's the best way to be transparent, and again, I apologize if it's not. Please ask me to provide more detail, or please ask me to do so in a different fashion. In my 19 or so years of being involved here, I provide the most thorough and detailed reports of anybody I've ever seen. I'll just leave it at that. I'm not here today to replace that written report, but I'm here to highlight a recent development at the district and a request for more detail from Mrs. Hanson. We've officially extended an offer of employment to a new executive director. His attorney was reviewing a memorandum of understanding to finalize our employment arrangement, which seems to be on track to happen at our next board meeting. So Jim Roberts, an established, very highly regarded, very successful businessman from Licking County, born and raised in Licking County, an engineer by trade, one who has provided, frankly, a lot of designs for a lot of subdivisions in and around Etna Township. He has quite a distinguished resume. I'm hopeful you will all read about it soon. Maria is supposed to be meeting with him, I believe, tomorrow to interview him, and hopefully she will disseminate lots more information in a better format than I ever could. Once established, after his late October start date, he isn't going to start until the end of October for a number of personal reasons on his part. Our board looks forward to tackling some important issues with his valuable input. Staff organization, use of consultants, makeup of our board, all items that have surfaced but have not been able to make traction because we have not had a dedicated general manager in place for almost 4 years. As you're aware, our interim general manager, Mr. Gilcher, he has had multiple hats and has been working in multiple roles for almost 4 years as litigation with Mr. Carlisle has ensued. In a status conference with the judge this afternoon, in the one remaining open suit, a trial date was set for January 29th. So this should bring final resolution, barring any more delays on behalf of the court or anyone involved. The distractions of those suits should be gone on or after the 29th. The hiring of Mr. Roberts confirms the commitment the district has to Licking County, most specifically Western Licking County, to a regional solution to the unprecedented growth pressures faced in the area today and well into the future. I've already spent quite a bit of time with Jim. I'm excited for the district. I'm excited for Etna Township. He's a truly wonderful person, somebody I hope will be a professional mentor to me as our relationship continues to build. He has exceptional skills and exceptional experience. I'd like to thank this board of trustees for their recent vote of faith in reappointing me to my post was instrumental in Mr. Roberts coming aboard. This, confirmed in a conversation just yesterday with Jim, was a very important aspect of him joining the district. Knowing he had the support of board members who had 2 and 3 years remaining on their terms allowed him to join us confidently to know his decision was supported by people who were going to be there in the face of the challenges that he was going to face as he entered a new one. So it's important to know that those who took part in hiring him were going to be alongside him to face the challenges we have in front of us. Switching gears, because it's the pleasure of the board, as was requested by a few of the folks that spoke before me, I'd like a few minutes on the next agenda to submit to the Board of Trustees what we believe would be the correct practice or best practice use of economic development incentives to allow for payment of the debt that's going to be incurred to add capacity for the development that is coming. I'd like to make clear that in many cases, the township has taken action, zoned property, and made it available for the development that's happening. Some of this is not new. It's been the case and has been in process for 15, 10, 5 years. Now we're addressing it, we're trying to address it in an unprecedented time of price escalation, competing with everybody else that's trying to build and do things in this area of Western Licking County. So finally, I'd like to thank, as Ryan said, the township, the sponsors, for the wonderful fireworks display on Sunday. This branded bag, looks like you have a few more to give away, was a nice gesture. I'd like to return the gesture and return the bag, if I would, to Nita.
Well,
as our
kind of makes me sad.
As our administrator, I'm going to keep the bag. How about that?
Oh, okay.
I have a book from John Gordon called Stick Together.
Oh, thank you.
Along with an activity that the township as a whole, Bubba, your team, the rest of the team, the administrative team, from my perspective, teamwork is the way to accomplish things. Okay? That's a very simple, easy to read parable about how to stick together, how to work as a team. Okay? I think it would be important for this township, for this group to participate in working together as opposed to working against one another. I think that's all I have.
I've got a few questions if you've got some time.
Ask away, I'll do my best.
All right, with the hiring of Jim Roberts, is that going to release Rob Platt and the conflicts that he's had?
No.
As you and I discussed last year, his conflicts, and I think that last meeting was evident when the district extended services on a guaranteed basis at the objection of Pataskala, and Rob Platt was the individual doing that, and he's also a consultant. That's still one of my concerns, so you're going to keep him on. As far as the The funding, I know it's been heavily pushed TIFs. Right now, the TIF on just 2 property sheets and Drayton Hall take $3.2 million estimated from the schools over 10 years. The district was pushing for a 20-year TIF, which doubled it with all the money going to the district. And my concern is we keep hearing development's going to pay for development, but what it's really doing is shifting the burden of costs for school expansion and funding to the residents, because if the schools don't have that money from the development, they're going to have to go to levies and bonds. So I'm looking forward to the presentation next week of what your plan is, because up until now, what we've heard is the board has no idea how they're going to pay for it. And that's concerning.
So that's a statement, not a question. It's not a true statement. The board does have many ideas of how we're going to pay for it. We just have not presented a plan to you.
No, it's been stated in the meetings that there is not a plan, they don't know how.
That is incorrect.
Okay.
And false.
All right.
Do you have more questions?
No, we'll wait till next week when you have the funding, because that's the big.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stepp. Now move over to our administrator's report, Ms. Nita Hanson.
Thank you. You know, maybe I'll go to the podium.
Yeah, that's
so
okay.
everybody can maybe hear it better. So forgive me if I have my back to you, so I'll try to circle around so that I'm speaking to. Well, that's okay. I think this will be fine. I'll just kind of address everyone if that's okay. Hold the microphone down.
Yeah, the microphone's directional, so you gotta speak right in the front of it. There you go.
How's that? Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So, as has been mentioned, we had our Etna Township Community Day last Sunday. The weather was perfect, the turnout was great. I actually don't take credit for either one of those things, but they are both true. Everyone had a wonderful time, and I want to thank our corporate sponsors. Of course, Cumberland Trail Golf Course was our host, Uline, Sheets, Duchess, McDonald's, Southgate Corporation, Wind Waste, Licking County Development, Majestic View Farm, Yenkin Family, and McGuire Graphics all participated in some way as a sponsor of our event. If you did not get an Etna Township shopping bag and want one, I have some here on the table. Please help yourself, and we have others. Sheets held its grand opening last week and gave away a number of great prizes, and Etna resident TJ Starkey won the grand prize. So
what was that grand prize? Wasn't it like $25,000 or $2,500?
Yeah.
Wow.
And maybe even some ongoing stuff. I mean, it was big.
2,500 in sheets, either gas or food or
yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Coastline closes today until October 3rd for some deep cleaning and construction of a new exhibit. From our roads department, I want to give a shout out again to Don Copley. Any call he receives, he goes out immediately to remedy the issue, even if it's not technically a township road, and especially even if it's not even during normal business hours. A recent example is a call after 7 o'clock on Thursday evening. Within 20 minutes, he took care of the hazard that was in the roadway. Another example is a call in the wee hours of the morning following a storm that there was a tree down. Mr. Copley responded to remove the tree from the roadway, which was actually in Pataskala. We strive to be good community partners with Pataskala, and that has been my experience in the 5 months that I've been with the township. Is just a couple examples of Don's commitment and his dedication to the township and its citizens. And so, well, I just want to say thank you for all that you and your team does for us.
Yes.
You're definitely the unsung heroes of our township.
Thank you.
The intersection of Mink and Refugee was to close today for 60 days for installation of the roundabout. I haven't been over there since this morning, but I assume that the closure actually happened. Over the last month or so, there seemed to be increased traffic in the Mayflower subdivision from Amazon semi-trucks. I asked our deputies to increase their presence in the area, and I was in contact with the property manager and ultimately with Amazon. Amazon has adjusted its guidance system that its drivers use to indicate that Mayflower is a restricted area. So hopefully between the deputies and the adjustment to the guidance system, there will be no more truck traffic in that subdivision. I'm at least keeping my fingers crossed for that. Bids were accepted for our 2023 road improvements project. You may remember that this is for resurfacing of Etna Parkway and Heritage Drive and resurfacing of Palmer Road from the Reynoldsburg Corporation line to Main Street. 2 contractors bid the project. The Shelley Company's total bid was $961,439.65. Kokosing's total bid was $977,950.67. Each of these bids is below the engineer's estimate. I recommend that we accept the bid from Shelley Company and that I be given the opportunity to sign the contract documents on behalf of the township.
Isn't this later in the agenda?
It's down later.
Well,
in the agenda.
and that
That's
can
fine.
come later in the agenda.
It's fine.
I'm just including it as part of my report.
That's fine.
Somebody was asking a question about the assessment of property values. That is not the job of the township. The township has no input in that. It's a process of the Lincoln County auditor. Just like in Franklin County, the Franklin County auditor controls their property assessment values. And then in Lincoln County, our
You
auditor.
should have got yours back today, your assessment.
You should have got it today, I'm told.
Today. I got mine today and so did somebody else.
Okay, so watch for that joyful information in the mail.
Mine was due.
There was questions about a meeting on August the 25th. There was indeed a meeting on August the 25th. It did not involve our board president. I had a meeting with Mr. Stepp and Mr. Platt. As Mr. Platt described at the water and sewer board meeting, which I also attended, that meeting was described as an introductory meeting because although I had coffee with Mr. Platt, I've not had an opportunity for any real discussions with him. And in that meeting, there were discussions about different ideas, concepts for funding of the needed financing. And as Mr. Stepp has said, that will be forthcoming at the next trustee meeting. All of the JED boards and the 2 JED Z boards met on August 25th. Combined, JED 1, 2, 3, 4, and 7, the 5 separate JEDs, have made 2 quarterly payments to the township, which total $653,348.31. And they have made a payment in these first 2 quarters of this year to Southwest Licking Schools of $527,446.45. There were also distributions to the Licking County Commissioners, the Licking County Transportation Improvement District, which is called the TID, you might have heard it referred to as that, to the JED BIA accounts, which Mr. Evans had asked me the total of those, which is $95,018.93. They made payments to CTEC and to the West Licking Joint Fire District. There have been some discussions that tax incentives provided to developers have diminished the monies going to the schools. As I understand it, the tax incentives apply only to the improvements and not to the land. So for instance, if you look at the tax obligations on the Amazon fulfillment property on Route 40, the tax obligation in 2015 was $4,476. 61% of which went to the schools, or $2,765. In 2022, the taxes due once the abatement was applied was $118,645. $67,265 went to the schools, plus the amounts paid by the Gen Z. Which so far in the first half of 2023, the Gen Z 2 has paid the schools $348,086. At the August Gen Z board meetings, I asked for reimbursement to the township for our current road project. The combined, and that would be the one for Etna Parkway and Heritage. Combined, the two boards have approved a reimbursement to the township of up to $650,000 for that 2023 road improvement project as relates to Etna Parkway and Heritage Drive. The bid for that part of the project is $479,052.85. So that entire amount that we will invest in the resurfacing of those roads will be reimbursed to us by the Gen Z boards. The Gen Z boards have declined our request for reimbursement for the zero-turn mower, the power washer, and the speed monitoring signs. It seemed like that the feel of the boards was that they were more inclined to reimburse large expenditures like the road improvements. But the boards are working with their legal counsel to develop guidelines for acceptable reimbursement requests. So maybe we'll have, that should give us a better understanding in the future of how things should be presented for reimbursement. The Zoning Commission has been working on revising the wording of our zoning resolution to complete revisions to Article 10, which is the supplementary district regulation, and Article 2, which is the definitions section, for submission to the Licking County Planning Commission for a non-binding recommendation. This includes better regulating residential solar panels, adding a section for mobile food vendors for special events, prohibiting the cultivation, procuring, or dispensing of medical marijuana, removing unenforceable sections, and a new section to prohibit small solar and wind farms. Once the Planning Commission recommendation is received, the proposed changes will be presented to this board for consideration. The Zoning Commission will next meet on September 12th of 2023. Our zoning officer is out inspecting properties in the township weekly with the goal of inspecting the entire township monthly. 45 violation letters have been mailed this year, with 4 violations remaining open. 28 zoning permits were issued in August for a total of $2,860. The township's Ohio EPA permit, which we participate in with Licking County Soil and Water, has educational, public outreach, and pollution prevention components, which includes annual training for pollution control and good housekeeping. Because of this, Soil and Water notifies its partners, like Etna Township, of good training opportunities. One of these opportunities is a stormwater field day, for which I sent you the materials last week. Linda Nicodemus is taking her team to the training and has suggested that we consider attending the event, which historically has been well done. The cost of the day-long event is $50 per person. I request that the board approve attendance by me, Don Cobley, and John Singleton. We'll take a township vehicle, so there will not be any travel expenses. And in addition, lunch is provided at the event, so there will not be any meal expenses.
Well, I can make a motion to pay that $50 per employee. Yeah, so I would give a second.
Thank you.
Second, is it for, like, you said 3 employees, correct?
for 3 of us to go. So it'd be 150 total.
Second discussion?
For the record, I'm gonna make your motion say that Rosalind McKee moved that Nita Hanson, Don Cobley, and John Singleton attend the Soil and Water Field Day for a cost of $150.
Correct.
Thank you.
You are. And then Jeff seconded.
I have moved and seconded, I
Is
just
there,
was
is
gonna
there gonna be
clarify.
parking fees and stuff like
I
that?
don't know. That's.
Should we have like $200 to cover parking fees or to
I
readdress it?
believe the thing said everything else was paid on the flyer.
That was my understanding, but I mean, there's no harm, certainly, in approving more than the 150.
I moved to change that to 200 just to make it easier.
So you guys will drive the truck down, obviously, so you guys don't have to worry about gas or
Correct.
mileage or any of that, so
That's
that's.
correct. There won't be any travel expenses. And lunch is provided, and I don't believe there'll be a parking expense, but I don't think there's any harm in.
Yeah, where's it at?
It's actually in Newport, Kentucky.
Oh, that's across the bridge.
Probably be parking.
So is that a hotel, maybe, or?
It's, I know that part of I think the actual, sort of seminar part of it, it will be on a boat, on one of the big boats.
Nice.
There's a hands-on section that obviously is not gonna be on a boat, that's gonna be on the ground. But then the seminar teaching type, program will be on one of the big boats.
Second for Mark's thing, or we just?
To make it cleaner, we'll just modify the motion if Rosalind wants to move it and second it, and I'll just add to the end plus any parking. It doesn't say anything about parking. As long as you guys are okay with it. I mean, you can always do the motion to amend and all
So we'll
that,
just do $200.
if you just wanna
additional
do it.
for parking, 50 grand. Roll call, please, Ms.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
This Saturday is the annual River Roundup, which is an annual river cleanup that brings hundreds of volunteers to pull tires, shopping carts, and mountains of trash from the 30 miles of rivers and streams in Lincoln County. To reserve your spot, either I can send you the link if you send me an email or let me know before you leave tonight, or it could be found by Googling Lincoln County Annual River Roundup. And I think that's all I have.
Did you have the use codes?
The use codes, the general discussion about those things are in my report about the updates that are going to the planning commission, but anything specific about use codes needs to be addressed with the zoning commission, which will meet on September the 12th.
Well, we can't go to the zoning commission. That you're supposed to be a liaison, or maybe Mr. Johnson can answer, but they spent a large amount of time going through the use codes of what should be left in, what could be left out, because the Drayton Hall was left in there as a residential hotel, which are basically apartments, and this board, prior to us, had to quickly take it out after the fact. Now, one of the concerns is the other service station, which is other fueling for semi-fueling, which is allowed pretty much everywhere on 40 and 310. That's a concern of why aren't we acting quicker, especially if they went through all the use codes. It seemed like they went through the use codes, came up with what they wanted, and it's been sitting there. And you guys have been dealing with the section 10 and not dealing with first. I think we need to be proactive, not reactive, because developers are going to take advantage of any loopholes they find.
I understand your position, and I just want to point out that it's not you guys, and I'm not on the zoning commission, and certainly you could attend a zoning commission meeting,
But you're the administrator. You're supposed to be coordinating all this stuff.
I am the administrator, and the use codes that are being updated are going to be provided to the planning commission.
Okay, you did not mention that. You mentioned section 10 and section 2.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Hanson.
Yep, sure.
Question for you.
Yes, sir.
What's wrong with Palmer Road between Taylor and Nick that we need to spend that kind of money?
So when we were looking at which of our roads needed to have attention, Mr. Copley said that Palmer Road was ready, it was time. I forget now, I'd have to look back at my notes, but Mr. Kennard will send me an email when the last time was that it was resurfaced. And I believe it was 8 years ago, 7 years ago, that it was resurfaced. And so resurfacing now before there is a big problem makes it an easier project. But
Okay,
if you need more specific information, let me know, I'll be happy to give it to you. Anyone else? Mr. Burkholder?
Hey, we can't answer questions.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was out of order, I shouldn't have asked you.
Just can't do
I should
that.
have asked for
We can't do
comments,
that.
I did.
I was just
I just called,
I apologize, I was really out of order and I
Yeah.
didn't intend to.
Withdraw my question.
Ms. Hanson, do you have an update on Scanell?
Just pretend I didn't.
Yeah, and just send him in the call, like you said, you'll provide us the information so you can reach out to her.
But do you have an update on Scanell?
I mean, I can tell you that Scanell is working with the Licking County Commissioners. They have their plan that they must complete. I know that they are working to complete that and address the drainage issues. But Scanell doesn't have any township issues right now.
Not at all.
Their issues are with the county commissioners. There is planting of
The buffer's not proper.
greenery on the outside of the wall, but until all of the drainage is addressed, there's no reason for them to plant that and then tear it up and replant it. So they're focusing on the issues that the commissioners have brought to them with the drainage on the property.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, we'll turn the meeting over to Mark Evans. Under new business regarding the building maintenance.
Yes, I brought this up quite a few times. First time was early last year after taking office, then a few times last year, then the last was May 2nd of this year regarding the lack of maintenance on the township hall. The doors are just completely rusting out. I was wondering why this has not been addressed, and it's much cheaper to address rust on a door than replacing a door, especially with the increasing costs of all supplies and materials. So I know, Mr. Johnson, you were in charge of doing the repairs. I was just wondering why this hasn't been addressed and if it will be addressed.
Not totally aware of the board just calls when things happen like that. Different things happen in here. If you want to take over this project, you're welcome, Mark.
No,
I suggest that you can. Your doors are ordered, but out there right now, once the doors rust like that, usually they have to end up replacing that door. We fixed those doors; those were broken. We had fixed those. We had another issue. That door has an issue right now. The closing we need to fix also. We're working on that. What else do you have?
It's been rusting for a year and a half, and if you attack rust early, you can stop it, so you don't have to replace it.
Let's make a motion for Mark Evans to take over that project. I would like to make a motion for you to take over. Would you? Is there a second?
Sure, if you want me to finally address what's been ignored for a year and a half.
Okay, is there a second?
And what does that include?
You're going to take over the project to make sure the doors get taken
Does
care
that
of.
mean you're gonna ask them to get like
And-
3
and
quotes to come back?
Is
You would have to
it
get
I think
quotes.
that's what he's
Is it
asking.
building maintenance, because there's rusting railings, there's unpainted trim, there's,
Well, you're talking about the doors.
well, right, is
So-
Mr. Johnson was appointed for township maintenance for the building in our organizational meeting. I'm just asking for, because it is much cheaper to address instead of replace.
That's why I'm asking you to take over that project.
So the building,
No, not the building, I just asked you to take over the door. You said you need to replace the door or?
no, not replace, repair, but so then.
Okay, so you get 3 quotes for us.
So then you don't want to address the railings?
We're going to, we're talking about the door.
The railings are up.
Evans was in charge when it started,
But no,
The railings?
he's always been.
Okay.
Mr. Johnson's always been over the building maintenance.
Ms. McKee,
Yes.
I don't believe Mr. Johnson has ever been put over building maintenance. If something breaks, because Mr. Johnson tends to be handy, I will call in and say the toilet broke, the door came apart, you know, do you want me to get someone to fix it, do you want me to call a plumber or whatever? But officially, in the 19 years I've been here, Mr. Johnson has never been put over building maintenance. He's just my go-to because he does maintenance for a living and he's handy at it. And a lot of the things, like my chair, he fixed a couple weeks ago with some oil, that's where I go. I'd be more than happy if the board wants to change that and make a motion to somebody else. But that's just because I go to John or to Jeff when something breaks, and he's always been able to usually fix it himself or give the road crew direction. As a matter of fact, John Singleton helped the road crew fix the door. Jeff didn't even do it. Thank you.
My point is, if you're gonna have someone here to address the doors, you should also have them address the railings that are rusting out.
We're going
So you don't have to
to
replace
deal
those
with the
also.
doors since that was brought to our attention from you about the rust, so let's.
It's much cheaper to have one contractor address the two items here instead of bringing another one for a small amount of work, such as the railings.
Where's the railing?
You're right. Walk around the building and see the railings rusting out at the base. Multiple railings are rusting.
Well, that's a good, okay, that's fine. If they're rusting too, why don't we go ahead and
These
have you
photos
take
were
care?
previously provided.
Okay,
to
why
the
don't we, like I said, I made a motion. We get a second, we can vote and decide on, we
So
decide.
I'll amend the motion to include the railings.
Include the railings, okay.
And for clarification in the motion, that's to obtain quotes.
To obtain 3 quotes. And Mr. Johnson checking it.
No, Mark Evans seconded.
Oh, did you second?
I didn't hear anybody second.
I didn't
Mark-
second.
Mark Evans seconded.
I'll second it.
Why don't you guys just restate the motion?
I'll restate the motion.
It should be simple.
I will restate the motion that I make a motion that Mr. Evans will get 3 quotes in regards to the rust on the doors as well as the railings. So, is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Discussion?
I'll put the discussion you just had.
Okay.
That.
All right, so roll call, Mr. Evans?
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Fine.
Thank you. Alright, so we'll move over to public records from Mr. Evans. I'll turn the meeting over to you.
Okay, again, got concerns about public records not being provided. When asked, in a conversation with the administrator, she was not addressing all the public records which had not been provided prior to her taking over the record. So I wanted to ensure that all outstanding records requests were going to be addressed.
So I'll respond to say that on the log that I have of all of the public records requests that have come in since I was appointed the custodian of records on May 2nd, and there's 66 of them, all but, except for the ones that have come in since since August 28th, they've all been responded to except for 2 requests that until yesterday, I thought you were going to be sending the records yourself. To the extent that there are old records requests that existed prior to this board appointing me to take over this job, I worked with Mrs. Varian. She provided me a log that she said was not yet complete. She was going to be updating it. If there are outstanding requests that existed prior to me taking, if the request will be restated to me, I'll put them on my log and I'll respond.
Some have been restated and they have not been.
Well,
I'm just saying,
there was
we need
one
to make
request
sure.
that you sent to me that you said, this is an outstanding request.
Right. And the whole.
That was one request that existed, I think, as of October of 2022.
There's numerous.
There's no other one that you brought to my attention that said this is still an outstanding request.
Okay.
If you have requests that were made that were not responded to, they were not
denied, or if there was not a response to the request, if you will restate them as a public records request, I will make sure and respond in some fashion to your records request.
Now, you do realize you were here when the fiscal officer gave those duties back to the board because of the lack of access to those records, the withdrawal of access to those records, and her inability to fulfill those. So this board is very aware of numerous records requests that haven't been fulfilled.
All I'm saying is, to the extent that there are records requests that were not responded to, not that they were not denied, but that they just simply were not responded to, for whatever reason, if you will restate them to me, I will ensure that a response is given.
They're from numerous individuals, so I can't understand.
These things you got, give them to her, she'll respond to them.
The whole
What is not clear about that, Mark?
Because they come from other individuals. So
then have them respond to, if you know the other individual.
Ms. McKee has many of them, because I'm just saying, so they need to be addressed.
Let her do her job, give them to her so she can do it. You'll get a much better response from what you're saying if you give them to her. She's responded to all of them that you requested, right?
Well, I mean, except for the ones that have come in since August 28th.
Yeah.
But, you know, but for those, the only two that were outstanding were ones that I thought Mr. Evans was responding to directly until yesterday, in which case now I'll take those up too, and I'll finish off those responses.
So those are two items that Mr. Evans got on the agenda, just so everybody knows for the record.
For the first two meetings in a year and a half.
That's not true.
Yeah.
That's false. That's a falsehood. Last meeting, you asked for. Okay. I move to authorize the township administrator, Ms. Nita Hanson, a spending allowance of $500 per month for purchases between meetings. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion?
Yes, this is what I proposed when we hired her, to give her that authority, so I'm glad we're finally doing that.
Great.
Okay.
Okay, roll call, Ms. Varian?
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes. Okay, I move resolution 23090501 to prohibit vehicle parking within an established right-of-way on Trail West in the Cumberland Trail subdivision on the north side of Trail West from the intersection with Columbia Road and continuing to Trail West to the first house number of 434 as shown in the exhibit. Is there a second?
Second for discussion.
I have a question. Were all these residents that are going to be impacted contacted to see if they are for or against this? Because the parking on the south side, with those houses being so close and with mailboxes being there, you don't really have much parking on the south side. And what is the purpose of limiting parking on the north side? Is there an actual issue?
Well, just to let you know that this was asked, this went to the prosecutor's office, but it was for a safety concern. There's a ton of golf carts now in the community. I mean, more than usual. And the residents want to continue to stay to your right as they use the road coming up, so they have one side that they can see in both directions on those carts. So we took it to the prosecutor's office, and Ms. Hanson.
There was not a requirement to notify any of the residents on the south side. The parking is not going to, they will still have their parking. It's just in the area that is currently, I'll say, empty of at least residences on the north side, and it only goes to the part where then it picks up with where there are residences on the north side. That is not included. It's just the small portion between the existing houses on the north side and then to the intersection.
Yeah, I'm trying to
We
understand.
have to have, there's a requirement for, there's a public notice requirement and all of those things before it can go in effect. But there was no requirement to have any permission or acquiescence or,
Right, there's
you know,
things that
yes
you
vote
need to do and
from
things that you
those.
should do, and I think we should get the input of those residents, because again, the parking on the south side between the driveways is very minimal, and I've seen cars parked on the north side quite a bit, and if it's for golf carts, I don't see a golf cart access before it terminates on the west, so if that's the theory, shouldn't that extend well into the neighborhood?
I can just tell you that there were a number of residential complaints about particularly overnight parking on the north side, and then also the safety issue with the golf carts. If there is a special event which could require parking on the north side, then we can block it off and we can allow parking for the special event. This is just for the normal day-to-day on that road.
Okay. Again, I don't see, it's a limited area, and to the west, you're gonna have to deal with the same stuff, but I would say, talk to the people in these houses before you enact this, not enact it and then tell them you're doing it. We're here to serve the residents, so shouldn't we get the residents that live there, their opinion first, is all I have to say.
Roll call, Ms. Marion?
Mr. Evans?
No.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes. Go ahead and move over to old business, which is purchase of two new sheriff cruisers. At the April 18, 2023 trustee meeting, expenditures of $140,214.34 was approved to purchase two sheriff cruisers. I move to authorize a purchase of two 2023 Dodge Durango cruisers in place of the Ford Explorer cruiser not exceed $139,000. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, discussion?
Is this a complete package that we would not have anything else on it at all? No other expenses, period?
Oh, that's
Yeah.
complete.
That's correct.
Everything.
That's the complete package, just like it was with the
Ford.
the Ford vehicles. It's just switching out to the Durangos, and actually we're saving a little bit of money. It's slightly less with the Durangos.
When do we expect delivery?
Well, we already have, according to what Lieutenant Carson said, the vehicles are already available at Coughlin. And so, I mean, it's sort of out of our control about any of the timing, but he wants to get his cruisers, so he has 18 plus our 2, and they're all being done at the same time.
Oh, so they're there.
The vehicles are there and available and set aside for 2 for us and 18 for the sheriff's department.
Okay, thank you.
And weren't some of the auxiliary equipment already purchased in the custody of the sheriff?
Well, I think the answer to that is yes. I think it was the radios had already been delivered and were in his office.
Okay, and again, the only thing I would say is, should we, if one of these costs go up by a little bit, shouldn't we go approve this to no more than 145,000, 150,000, instead of going to the penny and something comes up and then you're gonna have to address it once again? Or are these fixed amounts?
These are fixed amounts.
Yeah, I think all of the documentation was provided that has all of the quotes and invoices that was, I think, provided last week. So, I don't know that it hurts anything to approve more money than is going to be needed, but it's just, at that point, it's like bookkeeping. Maybe Mrs. Varian can tell us if you have $150,000 set aside and what actually gets spent is the actual amount. Does that create an issue for you in terms of putting the money, back into the general fund or?
No, I have it set aside. My only question is though, is the 83,000, I guess it's 2 cruisers, but anything over 75,000 is supposed to do with bid.
No.
So would that apply?
Well, no, that's different. This is different. You're talking about the new, when they changed it, which you went to 75. No, these are different.
Because that's, before that changes, it's 50.
Right, but this is this doesn't go under a bidding process.
This is,
This is a purchase, it's different, of cruisers. And when I say the difference is because there's not a lot of vehicles out there. And so when we try to get the Ford, which we were approved to get, and that was the same thing, we didn't bid on that. Because we could not get those vehicles, Mr. Carson went back and resubmitted to another company out there that had the Dodge Durangos. But and this is not under state bidding or anything. So we don't have to bid on cruisers, on vehicles at all.
I would think you would.
No, we don't.
I'm not gonna hold this up, but I am gonna just.
No, we don't.
check with the
Are we
CPA.
paying this to the Lincoln County Sheriff? Is that who we're paying to go?
we pay the vendors directly.
Maybe it's going through their bidding.
I think it's been through the sheriff's
But I
office
think you
bidding
have to
process.
be bidding on vehicles, there's
Yeah,
no exception.
I think they already, the thing is, I think the sheriff already bid them.
Yes.
Right, it's
That's what I was just gonna
done.
say, the whole bidding process has been done by the sheriff's department,
Yeah.
but if you look at the cost for one vehicle, it's still gonna be under the,
$75, it just went up in effect.
but the sheriff's office,
You just don't.
We just have to pay the sheriff. I'm pretty sure that's why.
I think that's perfect.
It won't hurt.
Funding wise, I think it's fine, it's under, so I'll just make sure everything's in the right spot to get it paid.
Because that 75 just went in effect, that's new.
Yeah, but before it was 50, so.
Right,
it's less.
exactly, right, that's what I'm saying, so.
so I think we need a vote, do we
Yeah,
need a vote? Is there a motion?
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes. Okay. We'll move over to the award for the 2023 paving, road paving. I move to award the 2023 road paving to the Shelley Company not to exceed $961,439.65. Is there, and I would authorize the administrator, Nita Hanson, to sign the contract. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion?
Is there any contingency for unexpected repairs that they come up with after they mill it, and if there's any repairs that need to be done before resurfacing?
You have the bids, and
I didn't see it in the bids.
Yeah, she sent them.
I sent
I
them.
didn't see it in the
Last
bids,
year.
the contingency.
Yeah, the contractors are bidding to complete the project within the amount they are bidding. So, I don't see that if the contractors have built in contingencies, they've built it into their estimate. There's not a separate line item for contingencies.
They bid what we tell them to, but Bubba, has there been an instance in the past where there's been billing, you needed some structural repair done, and it's an additional cost?
Yeah, these roads they're all pretty sound, and I think everything will be all right.
But it's good practice to have the contingency in there and approved, so at the time, we don't have an
The
emergency session.
prosecutor, did they look over those at all?
Oh, yes, all it was done, yes, with the oversight of the prosecutor's office. I mean, so if you want to build in a contingency now, then, you could approve an amount in excess of the minimum bid, but,
I think theirs have always been, especially Shelley's always been right on.
Yes.
Right on.
Yeah, never had problems since I've been around.
yeah. I know that, Bubba is gonna work with whichever, assuming it's gonna be Shelley Company, I know Bubba's gonna work with them because there is a, culvert, am I saying it correctly? That he's gonna replace while Palmer Road is, torn up.
Oh, okay.
So
What
that-
size are you putting in?
I'm gonna look at
24?
Well, I don't know if I can get 24.
18?
Yeah, I'm gonna get the biggest I can get, at least 15 at least.
Roll call, Ms. Kearney?
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes. Okay, we can move over to the 629 fund reimbursement distribution. I move to approve an authorized payment of $229,300.38 in state road work grant funds, which is AHS Etna LLC, and to authorize the township administrator, Mrs. Hanson, to take all action necessary to accomplish the payment. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion?
Just by way of explanation for people that might not be familiar, like I was unfamiliar until I'm learning through all of this. There was a grant application that was made and was awarded that's called a 629 grant. So I will tell you that I've asked a number of people, why is it called 629? And the answer that I get is, well, I think that must be an Ohio Revised Code section.
Yeah.
But nobody has told me that with any definitive answer. After the roads were dedicated to the township, this would be Schuster Way and part of Global Way, I made an application for those grant funds to reimburse the costs associated. And you might remember if you were here in the meetings or listened to prior meetings, the board approved all of that process. That money has now been paid over to the township to reimburse under for that grant application, those grant funds. And part of our loan or promissory note to the developers in both instances requires that 95% of that reimbursement be paid to the developer, and the township retains 5% for its sort of processing fee. So this disbursement of the reimbursement, that is what is being accomplished tonight. I hope that was clear.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes, and that was for Global Way. So we're going to move over to the Schuster Road. I move to approve and authorize a payment of $950,000 to in-state roadwork grant to Etna Park 70 LLC, and to authorize the township administrator, Ms. Nita Hanson, to take all actions necessary to accomplish this payment. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion, please.
Yes, I just want to say that to kind of go further with Ms. Hanson's commentary, when the development happens, the road, Schuster Way, and that, even toll gate, the township's actually paying that cost. And we're taking a loan out with the developer. The developer agrees to pay for it ahead of time, and through various funding mechanisms, 629s, TIFs, JEDs, EIA accounts, we pay them back. So Schuster Way, we're on the hook for $2.1837 million. And the $1 million is part of that. And that was what I was trying to get extended at the first meeting of this year. And it was a fight. So when people say it can be cantankerous up here, that's why, because if we didn't get that extended, we could have defaulted and been on the hook immediately for $2.1847 million. So that's why I fight up here.
Roll call, please, Ms. Varian.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes. I'm going to turn the meeting over to our fiscal officer. We're going to go over.
Before you do that, we have to talk about something.
Wait,
All right,
So
sorry.
part of this parking resolution makes us have to fill in the date that the signs can go up to be effective, and it has to be 30 days after we post everything.
Okay.
So do you guys have a problem that after we have it all posted and legally the signs can go up, maybe middle of October? We need a date here.
Okay.
You know,
It's
so we didn't
certainly-
realize that.
Yeah,
so I
it
was
certainly
filling
will
in
not
the
be
blanks.
before the middle of
Right,
October,
okay.
because we have to post it, we have to publish it.
Yes.
Then 30 days later.
Okay. So
November 1st? Can we
Oh,
make it
November
November
1st.
1st?
Okay.
What about that?
Yeah,
November
that's
1st?
good. Yeah, that gives us enough time to do it. Yeah, November 1st will be fine.
Do you want
Yeah,
to
I'll probably do that.
do it?
Because that's an 81 on that, is that what you're saying?
Well, I didn't realize there was blanks in this resolution until I went to fill them in, and you guys didn't discuss this part.
Yeah.
I didn't realize Nita didn't have it filled in her copy.
That's
either,
fine.
So
It's fine. So we can, yeah.
So November 1st.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do we need that by motion?
I can make a motion that the signs will be put up.
As part of the
As a part of the
resolution.
resolution, what's that on that one? 01 to, yeah, part of the 23090501, to
It's on the back.
the signs
For it to be in effect.
in effect November 1st, 2023.
Then we just need
Is
a
there a
second.
second?
Yes, second.
Thank you.
Roll call, please, Ms. Varian.
Mr. Evans?
No.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Laura.
You're welcome.
Okay, now we can turn the meeting over to our fiscal officer, Julie Varian.
Okay, I have a couple different resolutions. One is just establishment of a fund, 2231, the permissive fund, MVL. This is a request or suggestion that our author asked us to create, so.
I'll move to approve resolution 230905-02, establishment of fund 2231 permissive fund, MVL as presented.
Second.
Discussion? And Ms. Varian, I know you and I talked earlier about it, but this 39125 that you want to move to
Wait.
fund?
Let's finish
This
this
is
one first.
separate.
Okay.
This is the, just establishing a fund.
Okay.
Do you want roll call?
Yeah, roll call.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Okay. So then the other resolution I have is to transfer funds and amend the 2023 appropriations. The first transfer of $5,400 is just to transfer funds from the general fund to debt service fund to pay off the LPWC loan, which was the brand new mill resurfacing. Then the next one, $1,426, is it's a transfer within the road and bridge of itself. It's just a supplemental adjustment to have enough of the $950,000 to pay the contractor. Do you have a question on that one?
No.
Okay. And then the $39,000 is an adjustment to prior years, and that is just reclassifying where the income is going into. We're taking it from contract services into the general fund.
Okay, so 39125, was that for?
That was the reimbursement for the house demolition of the building.
Yeah, the demolition of buildings. Was that more than one?
No, it was
several?
It also included lighting, but that's an audit issue, so we can't really talk about it.
I'm sorry.
I said that's an audit issue though, so we
Okay.
can't really talk about it.
Okay.
I'd like to move resolution 23090503 for transfer of funds and amend the 2023 appropriations as presented.
I'll second.
Discussion. What's the 2901 miscellaneous special revenue? Yeah, what's the 2901?
It's just the account number.
I'm sorry. I know this account number. Everything has an account number. But what is it's miscellaneous special revenue? $71,441.
No, that's prior. That's just the that you don't have to pay attention to because there's no amendment to that. That's just the total available for appropriation from our budget.
That was the existing current number.
Yeah.
That was prior to.
And then what about the 2401 special assessment, $108,017.95?
That's just prior. That's just part of our appropriations that's been there since January 1st.
But what's 2401 called?
It's special assessments account.
special assessment account, and then 2901 is a special revenue.
How long would we have to do with that money? How long do we have?
To do with what?
Well, the money's in there, so
If we have till the end of the year, and if we don't use it, then it rolls over into next year.
then, is it definite? Do we get the
Yeah, it's an unencumbered, it's called an unencumbered balance, meaning we didn't spend it, so
Right.
we can use that for next year.
Well, is there a deadline, because before the previous ones had deadlines on?
Maybe for certain ones if they're special. Yeah.
That's basically the corona's.
Oh, yeah, that one has a deadline.
That's what I'm saying, so that's what's the deadline on, that's what I'm asking.
2025.
2025?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have to spend it before then, or by year end?
By year end 2025, but we'll spend it.
Okay.
Because we're using that for the deputies and cruisers, didn't we?
Yeah.
The site question I had, what's up here?
Yes.
Mr.
Roll call.
Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Then I'd like to move resolution number 23090504 to approve purchase orders as presented.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Varian, I know we had some resolutions here, and I was just trying to figure out why you're not doing the resolution Ms. Evans are doing for you.
Because she's not a trustee, she can't
No,
move
she
for a
can,
resolution.
yeah, she can.
I don't think she can make her.
She can't make
No,
it.
she
Can't
can't.
board of trustees on that.
They're already on, we just had to put up 4 on that one, 3 on that one.
She provides them to you, but you guys have to take action on that.
I stand incorrected. All right, so,
Okay, he skipped down the purchase orders.
yes,
04, so we have a move by Mark and then a second with Jeff Johnson.
and then roll call.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes,
We need to go back up to bank recs, please.
please. Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the bank account reconciliations as presented.
I'll second.
For the minutes, which months are those? July.
We try to have the stuff here earlier so we can go through them prior to the meeting, but sometimes it doesn't work out. It takes away from our meeting time. Yes, roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
And then I'll make a motion to approve the payment of bills as shown.
I'll second.
Discussion?
Do you want something? No?
Roll call?
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes. I know this was a holiday, so we didn't get the stuff over here until today, but we try to get our fiscal officer to get this to us prior to the meeting so we can go through it, everything and look over it. We don't have to take much time to look over it in the meeting. All right, so I guess we can move over to announcements and trustee comments. Is there a trustee who wants to come and speak on the 3 minutes comments?
Yeah, just something brief. Mr. Kennard had mentioned about farming and he'd like payments for farming. There are programs within the county and the state which do provide farmers with the payment to keep it a farm. Granville, I believe, uses that for some of their farm areas, and they even purchase those. So I am definitely for those type of programs, that if we want to preserve some areas as being farmland, that we should look at that. And if it's an option for a farmer, great. But again, something like that should be at least researched. Regarding the heating or the cooling shelter, I definitely believe that we should have something like that in place. Even our township garage is air conditioned. You know, thanks because of COVID funding and that. So, but also for heating in the winter, that, you know, we should get something in the books and at least make announcements of that where people can come here, because I think the township hall is supposed to be open through the day and allow for restrooms use and stuff like that. So that is a good thing. So maybe we can get that on an email blast to people to let them know that that is available, especially during the hottest part of the day, because people should be here on that. And then the only other question I have, I see the cameras are still not installed in the township hall. I would hope that they would be installed soon. They were removed last October, and we approved, I think, in January for them to be reinstalled. So I just asked for that to be done.
Mr. Johnson, or Mrs. Brown, did you guys ever have anything sheltered for those heated days or cold days in the past that y'all had in place, maybe prior to me becoming a trustee?
Not that I'm really aware of.
We've never had that in place, but
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah, absolutely.
We at one point checked in, especially when we were building this building and stuff, whether we needed to have it be part of the emergency management system. It was deferred with the county, did some training of people that wanted to be part of it. They decided they need to use this place, so we did not purchase a generator or maintain a generator for here. We do have, we work in the fire department, and as representing the fire district, if there's an emergency, they use that as headquarters. And for what goes on within the district itself, and Lincoln County then gets funnels of stuff from their emergency response thing down to the fire department, which administrators out, and I would call our road crew, whoever we need to within our township to make sure things get safe, especially when we had that big flood. One time they called us all in to make sure that we kept road signs up and kept cars from driving in there. Bubba was a big part of that, making that happen. Got trees off the road, so once again, shows how well our employees take care of the township out here, how responsive they are to it. I don't think I've ever called Don or any recruit another time they did not answer the phone all kinds of nights. So hats off to them.
We'll check into what we can do as a township hall, even like you mentioned, the garage having air over there now. Prior they didn't, but now we do. So we'll check into that. That's a good idea, Mr. Perkins. Thanks for doing that.
I mean, I will say, as someone who is here all day, every day, well, except for when I'm out for meetings, no one has ever been turned away from town hall. If they would come seeking relief, you know, I would think that we would need to sort of think through the process about whether that presents any safety concerns, but certainly no one has ever been turned away from town hall when it's open for normal business.
I think just letting them know it's an option would be good. So an email blast would be good.
I would like to thank the Board of Trustees and Nita Hanson, our administrator, our executive secretary, Laura Brown, and our road crew, and the Etna Township residents. But last but not least, the Cumberland Trail Golf Course, and also all of our sponsors that helped make our Fireworks Community Day successful. I want to thank everybody for that, and the ones that came out and the ones that could watch from a distance. It was a wonderful event. Thank you very much.
And we in turn thank you for all your hard work.
Yes, for
preparing your part of it.
Thank you. Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right.
I'll second.
Okay, roll call, Ms. Aaron?
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Better than us, we can find it. Not true. 721. I knew that about the guys on there.